Good morning, everybody. Day number 2 with that new fantastic intro from Cryptex. And shout out to him because he also was the first one to chat this morning. He's just stealing all of the special announcements now. I guess he wants his name more with airtime, but he deserves it because he is phenomenal. We got a great show lined up for you guys this morning on Investing Bros. Frankie Candles will be joining the show. I know a lot of you guys are already subscribed and follow him and love his stuff, but if you are not, you can either go ahead and follow him right now. There's links in the description below, or you can just wait to hear his phenomenal phenomenal takes. So excited to have him on the show. We got a lot to talk about. Right now, Bitcoin, I have to admit, it's doing some stuff that I didn't think it was going to do. It broke support line of its ascending triangle. We're going to talk about that more, especially when Frankie comes back on. I'm not too concerned. I think that there's some fear in the market right now that relates to the Fed minutes that will be announced this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I expect there to be nothing there, but watch as we get closer to 2 today, watch the prices of Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptos start to kind of move around a little bit in anticipation of what the Fed is going to do. Are they going to give us any updates saying that it's all good, inflation is still under control, or will they come out maybe a little hawkish? Will they express some concern about these most recent CPI numbers? Make sure you stay posted for that. We also will continue to unpack what this Hong Kong story looks like for the future of crypto, because it still has some bullish signs. If you guys are excited, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you are new, subscribe to the channel for your daily content every morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We update you guys on Bitcoin, on crypto in general, on stocks, and everything you need to know about what is happening in the news. So make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe. T-Shroom, how are you doing this morning?
Tim, I'm doing better than I deserve. And that's just the fact of the matter of it.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump into the quote of the day.
Yeah, let's do it.
I've got a good one queued up here. Guys, we're staying in Asia this morning for the quote of the day. Let's check it out. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And that is a Chinese proverb. So it's going to be hard to argue with that. Potentially thousands of years of wisdom behind that one. What do you think, Tim? Do you disagree? Do you think there's too much bearish deviation on that? Bearish divergence on that one? Do you think it should be 15 years?
I'm going to give the quote a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah. I have no comment whatsoever. I can't do anything about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. You know, speaking of trees, in case any of you guys are not following, Smay, a very beloved figure, he has his own channel. People are always asking, where's Smay?
True. What's
Smay doing? You know, he just needed a break from the crypto space, but he has his own channel. I think I've been seeing him all over TikTok, maybe because I just follow him. I've seen him on YouTube and stuff, but one of the things he's really doing is trying to help raise awareness and to help raise funds to plant more trees. So I think Smay would absolutely love this quote.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. Love you, Smay. We got a lot to unpack. What are some other stories? I kind of hinted at 2 of the big ones, T-Shroom. Is there anything else special happening in the news today that we're going to tease for the second half of the show?
Well, not really. I'll go ahead and just read them out right now. Google Cloud is looking like they're going to become the validator for the Tezos network, which is super, super cool. And then also Microsoft looks like they are or they have closed in on a deal to purchase Amazon Blizzard. Goodness gracious. Activision Blizzard. Yeah, Microsoft buying Amazon would be quite a big day. But Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard is also looking like it's in the cards and looking like it's going to happen here if it hasn't already by 9 a.m. on the 22nd of February. So definitely be checking that out. Microsoft has been on a tear with M&A. As you'll note, they just bought the biggest thing since sliced bread, which is ChatGPT. I think they bought out OpenAI, which is the company behind that product that I'm sure you know and love by now. ChatGPT has been making its way across the headlines and across your desktop in the recent months since its release. So that's going to be our news. Obviously, the Beijing and the Fed minutes are going to be the biggest stories, though.
Quick teaser before we move on. Did you see I tagged you yesterday in Twitter, T-Shroom?
Did you?
There was this girl, and I think it was a TikTok, but I found it on Twitter. There's this girl that was showing this plugin that literally, if you add this plugin, when you take those college tests or whatever, you can just check to see what the right answer is. Yeah. With the combination of ChatGPT and whatever that name of that plugin was, I can't remember.
Yeah.
What is the point of college education anymore? Like, how valuable is a college education at this point?
It becomes complicated, right, Tim? And I think we have to remember that, like, material value is different from knowledge value.
Yeah.
And while material value can theoretically go to zero, I think because of machines and AI has the ability to produce them.
Yeah.
I think innovation and knowledge value will always have an enduring scarcity. There will always be a market for that does not go to that the prices of which do not go to zero, and that's because of innovation. It's because of innovation and memory. Computers can store memory very well, and they can also, but they have a lot of trouble innovating a lot of times.
Yeah.
As we're seeing with ChatGPT, there is some room for a bit of innovation from AI and from computing, but there'll always be a need for human knowledge, and that's my opinion. So
yeah, I mean, I agree. I just think a lot of kids are going to take advantage of these nice little shortcuts.
Yeah.
And,
of course. In the meantime, it's open season for high schoolers and college students.
Yeah, might be time to start homeschooling your kids again, just so you know what they're learning.
I disagree. I strongly disagree. I think you should expose your kids to the latest cutting edge technology, and to the extent.
Oh, I think so too.
To the extent that they're going to hack their education, they're going to go into the marketplace and hack the world. You just need to make sure that they aren't doing things unethically or illegally or immorally, and they'll be good to go.
Well, let's go ahead and let's keep moving forward here. We got a big show. Got to bring Frankie in here in just a second, although I do want to read some of the comments in chat, or not maybe all the comments, but some of the names. Cryptex, I told you guys he was the first commenter today. So special shout out to Cryptex. He is just, again, at this point, showing off the skills that he has. Mr. J is here in chat, a mellow fellow. Mr. Bitcoin, Justin Eubanks is here. Dave Digital is here as well with the Bing Bong. Yeah, I think we got a lot of fans in here for Frankie Candles. I'm excited. Dagna01, I don't know if that's how that's pronounced, but let's go with it. Tony D is in chat, which Tony D is one of the moderators. He's one of the big guys over there, Frank Candles. Welcome, Tony D. Love seeing you in chat. Who else is here? We got Travis Harris, Joe Nickel, Tom Wilkes. Tom Wilkes, a moderator and one of our Diamond members.
That's right.
Big dog in the house. Crypto Ben Franklin is here. Gia S., good to see you again. Gia, give us an update on, is everything good with your daughter? I think I heard that everything kind of transitioned, but I want to know for certain. We've been praying for you. Keep moving on, though. Crypto Trades is here. Eric Wallen, a couple more. Alex Green, Elo Brown, and Steve Shrum is here. If I did not read your name, that does not mean I don't love you, but I am so excited about what is next. First of all, I mean, I love doing TA, but it's always nice to get somebody else in the building doing the TA, and we've got a special treat. That is Frankie Candles. Frankie, how are you doing this morning, man?
Guys, what is going on? Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I love hanging out with you guys and talking crypto, taking a look at the charts. And, we spent so much time going inside, just boring sideways action. Bitcoin got a little bit stale for a little bit. And then finally we got that big move up, and now we have some volatility. So we have some good stuff to talk about for sure.
Yeah, we absolutely
thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. I want to start off by saying, I told him this before the show, but holy cow, Frankie is taking. I don't think I've seen a single creator in the crypto space take off as fast as Frankie Candles. If there's an award for the fastest growing channel, I feel like we're pretty fast. Like, we've only been here for about 2.5 months or so. We're already over 2,000.
You guys are.
But I mean, in the last couple of months have just in a bear market. That's what my biggest wow moment for Frankie Candles and his growth is he's growing like a bull market in a bear market.
Wow.
What is going to happen to the Frankie Candles show when the bull market actually comes back?
Explosive.
It's going to be crazy.
300x.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. Part of what I wanted to do with my channel was, when I first started it, a lot of people were like, hey, man, yikes, you're going to start. Why are you starting a crypto channel right now? We're going into a bear market. And I was like, honestly, in the beginning, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be pretty rough, but I kind of wanted to make, the bear market fun, right? It's like a perfect time for people to learn how to do TA and how to trade and stuff. So, but yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. But you guys too, you guys are blowing up too.
Thanks, man. Well, I think the other crazy thing about it is, Frankie, it's true that you, before starting your channel, you were a videographer for BitBoy's team, right?
Yeah, so I basically started off as when I basically found them. I used to watch Ben's show like every single day. It was like one of my main sources for crypto news. I was always a trader, always into TA. But when I would watch all of their videos, I'm like, man, these people are putting out a lot of content.
Yeah.
I have a background in TV production, and I was like, I was looking for a way to go full-time in crypto, and I was like, you know what, if I could get my foot in the door here, offer some value, help them out with some content, maybe it could grow into something else. And then they always knew that I was obviously a trader. I was always in the office, running around either screaming about losing money or screaming about making money in a trade. And when they made the trading channel, they were like, hey, you want to do it, Frank? And I was like, honestly, I was really nervous. I'd never been in front of a camera, was never an entertainer. So I was kind of like, something in my brain was just like, say yes, figure it out later. And then, here we are.
Well, that is super cool, man. Well, I could just sit here and talk with you forever about just, a lot of stories. I love stories, but let's jump into charts. Let's start off with Bitcoin. People have been seeing my take here for a while. I think that a lot of technical analysts are in the same boat. If we can clear this 25.2, 25.4 area, it's a pretty easy run up to 28. But what we've seen over the last couple of days is a little more resistance. What are you seeing on the charts? Where is your mind at right now when it comes to Bitcoin price? And what are you looking forward to here in the future?
Yeah, for sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. There we go. Boom. Hopefully, can you guys see that?
Almost.
It's
in the process.
Screen sharing.
It's in the process. There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. So I mean, like we were just saying, we had some pretty boring price action on Bitcoin. This felt like we were just never going to get out of this sideways movement here. But then we got this big move up, and this big move up was this got really intense for me right at this level, right as we were approaching these this high that we made right before FTX or the FTX collapse. This was a big level we were watching, right? We were saying, if we can get above here, we may be able to get a big move up. And if we could hold support on this level, which obviously we did wind up coming down and retesting these highs and holding them as support, this specifically right here was very, very bullish in my opinion. Being able to hold these FTX levels was very, very big and kind of really makes me... Now, I'm not really that big on, I'm calling the bottom right here. I actually don't really think it's that important, especially me being a trader. I DCA in with my bigger bags, obviously, and then I'm just day trading and swing trading the price action. But this has got me feeling a little bit more bullish in the long term here. The fact that we were able to make a higher high on the weekly, which obviously happened right here. I can go ahead and hide those lines so it's easier to see. We're making higher highs on the weekly, so this is a really good sign in my opinion. So I am leaning a little bit more bullish long term, and the more we're able to hold that FTX level, the more I am thinking that, potentially the more likely that the bottom is in. But again, I'm not really one of those people like, that's it, we're over the FTX level, bottom's 100% in. Anything can happen, especially with a lot of the crazy news going on right now. A black swan can come out of nowhere and easily break us down below these levels. But definitely feeling pretty good in the long term. But yeah, other than that, obviously we did get this move up, kind of ranged around. I know a lot of people were looking at this ascending triangle. I think you just mentioned it a little bit earlier. I'm going to pull up the rest of my lines here. So we did have this ascending triangle. We did break that trend line to the downside. And, on my live stream for the past few days, even last week, I kind of felt like the last person screaming, everyone's screaming breakout, breakout, breakout. And I just wasn't seeing it on the indicators. One of the main things that I was looking at was money flow on Market Cipher is just clearly coming out on a lot of these timeframes, coming out on the 12-hour, coming out aggressively on the 16-hour. And then another big thing we were looking at is this, let me just go ahead and hide that TA real quick. Pretty nasty bearish divergence here on the daily with our higher highs and our lower highs on our momentum waves. This is pretty bearish in my opinion as well. And that plus the money flow coming out on the 16 and the 12-hour was kind of making us expecting this ascending triangle to break to the downside. So as of right now, again, not flipping super, super, super bearish, but I did expect it to be a little bit more likely that we broke that ascending triangle to the downside. But like you mentioned earlier, we do have the Fed minutes coming out, I think at 2 p.m. today. So maybe we just kind of run down into that news and we get that news to wait for the reaction. Are we going to get that breakdown? Are we going to get that breakout?
Yeah, this is good stuff here. And same thing, I'm kind of looking at some stuff here. There definitely is some bearish chart various indicators popping up on the charts that I was looking at. We're not going to go to my screen today. I want to keep it focused on Frankie. What do you think, though, Frankie, when we're looking at this dip, what do you think it would take to get a push through that 25-2? Because there's a lot of signs that it is ready to pop up and go up towards 28. Are you a fan of the 28 mantra? Are you a fan of a dip now? Or are you just kind of keeping yourself in a boat of saying, like, I'm not going to try to make some big breakout. I'm going to watch for things to happen and then make my calls as they happen?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Kind of how I handle things, just in general in the market is I love trading the sideways ranges. Anybody watching right now that watches my show will know this. But we get these big moves up, and then typically we will consolidate and kind of range around. And basically what I do is I come down to the lower time frames, right? And I will find my range here, and I am just scalping these ranges from the lows to the highs, from the highs to the lows. And then whether we break up or break down, I'm likely going to be in a position from the opposite end of the range. So right now I am in a short from these highs of the range right here. So we are starting to break down here. We got a nice little bearish retest of the value area low. So if we do continue to break down here, I am in at the top of the range. So I'm really happy with that entry. But if I saw bullish confirmations down here at that value area low, that's where I would be getting into a long position. And if we were going to break out up to about 28K, which I definitely am, that number, I hear everybody talking about it, and I have to say it's definitely a valid number. I know a lot of people are saying, it's a crazy, there's no way we're going to 30K. We're still in a bear market. But it is, in my opinion, 100% possible to make it up to 30K. And I would even argue that it would be possible to go a decent amount higher than that and still remain in the bear market. I mean, in 2018, I don't want to go too long here into this example, but in 2018, we had some pretty wild bear market rallies here. If you come all the way back, you can see that little fake out bull run that we had in 2019. I mean, this was to come back and retest that macro golden pocket from all the way from the all-time high to the all-time low, came up, tap that local golden pocket. This was a massive, massive bear market rally of over 300%. And we came within about, this wick to wick, we came within 25% of the actual all-time high. So if we were, not saying that we have to, but if we were to see something similar to that, we could even see, this is the 28 to 30K level here. We could, potentially see a run up into this local golden pocket and then closer to 48 to 50K. Now, I'm not calling for that tomorrow or the next day, but, we ran up here. You have to understand what a lot of people don't get is it's not impossible to get a bear market rally all the way up into that level. So, I think a lot of people are calling that 30K level a little unrealistic, but in my opinion, it's really not, especially when you start looking at the volume here. You could just see, if I hide these lines here, we are tapping on the door to this big gap in volume. And if we break up into that, we will likely see a very quick move up into those levels. So 28K, definitely in the cards for me, but kind of just what I'm calling for, what I have been calling for on my channel is, it does make a little bit more sense to get a retracement first, in my opinion. And then just real quick, one of those big levels that I would be looking at to the downside for a retracement would be this level right here, which is the point of control of a more macro range here, coming in, at about $23,000 even. I got a massive high volume node there, a local golden pocket. So, ideally, not saying we're definitely going to get it, but I would love to see price pull back into that local golden pocket / point of control, build up some more long positions before blasting off to the upside.
Frankie, this is phenomenal. I want to stay on that one real quick. I mean, you can go on my screen right now while I'm talking, but I want to look back at that. A lot of people ask this question, and a lot of people have this concern, and it might be one of the biggest problems that face people trying to get into day trading and swing trading, of which you do a lot of. So I want to hear what counsel you would give people. There's going to be a lot of people, even after hearing you say that, looking at that chart, because those numbers, that's a very good level you put there, but there is a chance that it doesn't go down that far. How do you, Frankie, prepare yourself? Like, let's say we are about to blast off to 28, 30K, and we're just waiting for the Fed minutes, or we're waiting for something else to kind of trigger that. How do you prepare yourself? Because I think a lot of people, after hearing what you just said, are going to look at that and say, all right, I'm going to enter in a buy at 23,000. When it hits 23,000, I'm going to enter a long. That's a great level. Frankie just laid it out beautifully. But you and I both know there's a good chance that it doesn't, there's a decent chance it doesn't even get down that far. Maybe it even gets like within $100 at that point. How do you advise people to prepare themselves when they see a good level below to get a good entry, but also prepare for the fact that it might not make it quite that far? It might stop somewhere along the way. How do you help people make sure they get into a trade in general without getting into the wrong spot? Because I think a lot of people are scared of saying, well, maybe I'll go 23.5, but then they get really upset when it goes all the way down to 23 or maybe even a little lower. How would you advise people to kind of handle that situation?
Yeah, that is a really, really good question. And for me, you guys can see my screen, right?
Correct.
Just want to make sure. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, that's a great question. And the simple answer to that question is sometimes price will front run your level. Sometimes it'll blow through your level. And, listen, like the market is, it's a hard game to play, right? So the short answer is sometimes it just doesn't get down to your level. Sometimes you miss the trade. But a really, really good way, again, that I avoid that is, again, trading the ranges, right? You get these impulsive moves, right? Impulsive move, sideways range, right? So it's these sideways ranges that help me avoid, missing trades, right? Because again, as we're in these sideways ranges, I'll just kind of put a rough level here. We have some highs up here, some lows down here. I'm looking for longs at the lows and shorts at the highs, right? So, in this case, if I were going to look for a long, another thing you can do is look for the local golden pockets. So if we pull a local golden pocket from this swing low to our swing high, you kind of see we are coming up to a golden pocket here. So I guess this is kind of, I feel like I'm answering this question in kind of a messy way, but, local golden pockets, a lot of times price likes to come down to that the golden pocket or that 786 fib level. So a lot of times if you're looking at a level and you pull a local golden pocket, a lot of the times, like right here, if you pull from this low to your macro high, you can see that golden pocket comes right above our key level, which is that $23,000 level. So if you start pulling some local golden pockets, find some levels right above that level you're watching. And so like right now, if you weren't pulling these golden pockets, you wouldn't know that you have this level here at about 23.5 that you may get a bounce off of, right? So, price might be working its way down, and then, you think that price just randomly front ran your level, but it's really all it did was pull back to the golden pocket, which is, expected in a lot of cases. So, I would recommend pulling those local golden pockets. And yeah, it's, and then again, sometimes price just front runs your level. The key there is to not FOMO into the trade, right? Because a lot of times, I've personally wrecked myself plenty of times when I was learning how to trade like this. You wait for price to come down to your key level, and I kind of have a strict rule now. If price front runs my level, I do not take the trade. If I miss the move, I miss the move. I'll catch the next one.
Yep.
But if price comes down and you go to front run that level, I've wrecked myself a bunch of times where I front run the level and I'm like, oh, we didn't tap the level. I get into the trade, I FOMO in, and then you get a little move up, and then you finally come down and tap your level or even pierce through it. I get stopped out, and then price winds up running the way I wanted it to go anyway. So for me, it's all about if I am. Now, the other thing is, too, you can look for longs at earlier levels. Like me, I'll be looking for longs down here at this level at 23.5. We also have the local golden pocket at near that level as well. So I'll be looking for longs at those levels. If I don't get the confirmations, that's where I get confident that it will come down to tap my level. So I will, if it doesn't tap my level, I don't take the trade. But again, short answer, sometimes the market takes off without you, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that we've talked about on our channel before, that what he just gave advice is the perfect advice. I have fallen victim to that, where I have a great level, it bounces just north of my level. I'm like, oh, I missed it. Let me just go ahead and get in. And sure enough, it ends up dipping down, touching my level, but I exited out that option. And so great advice there. Also, shout out to the Candle Mafia in chat. They have been going nuts. They were talking about laddering. Great strategy as well. A little more risky if you're going to be doing leverage. I don't necessarily, I'll hear, Frankie, if you disagree with me, let me know. I wouldn't advise the laddering strategy as well as using especially heavy leverage, let alone light leverage. But if you're doing one-to-one trading, that ladder strategy is a beautiful one. Frankie, do you agree? Do you disagree?
Yeah, 100%. You know, laddering in is one of the best strategies you can use for, just spot trading. Leverage, I will say, lower leverage, I will ladder into positions.
Gotcha.
Sometimes, but for the most part, I don't usually ladder in when I'm using, anything over like 3x leverage. I won't ladder in. Because when I use the higher leverage, it's typically more of a short-term trade or a scalp trade. So for those trades, I'm kind of sitting there waiting to snipe the actual level. That's where if it doesn't tap my level, I don't take the trade. But if I'm trading with lower leverage, I'm trying to build up a bigger swing position. I will definitely ladder in. Actually, if I could share my screen one more time, I'll give you an example of that. We were looking at this range where this was, again, an area where everybody was super bullish, and all I could see was price action coming up and, momentum and money flow coming out, giving you that discrepancy between your price action and your oscillators. And I'm just saying, like, this cannot be sustainable. I felt like the last bear standing, expecting that breakdown. And I started to think I was crazy. And then finally we broke down. But, this is a perfect example where, you get a decent short signal here, nice 4-hour bearish divergence. You take the trade. You're expecting this thing to absolutely nuke down, due to other things we were seeing as well. And it just wound up bringing you down to the bottom of your local range. And then you get a heavy bounce. So a lot of people got trapped in this short. And this is where, even though we got this bounce, we put in a lower high on our momentum wave, showing that still price is coming up as momentum and money is leaving the asset, letting me know, hey, this actually might be a good place to kind of add a little bit more to the long, ladder in a little bit more, and add to it. And then finally it breaks down and plays out. So, if you have price just continually creeping up, but you're consistently coming down on your, whatever it is, if you're looking at Market Cipher, the RSI, whatever you use to find divergences, or whatever you're using for your confirmations, if you see yourself getting continuous confirmation, that's kind of where I would ladder in, add a little here, add a little here, add a little here, hoping for that to play out. So that's just a kind of, this was just a recent example, so I wanted to bring that up.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna keep going on here in just a second. We had 2 different super chats I was gonna read. One from Cryptex, just giving a shout out to the Candle Mafia. You guys have just shown up big. Other one from Andy D here saying, "Love the stream, guys. Keep up the good work. See you later on your stream, Godfather." I'm assuming that is another reference to Frankie. But hey, I want you to know, Frankie, this is the highest viewed video that a live stream we have had, and it's got to be because of you and that great audience there. If you guys want, go ahead and smash that like button. We got 250 people watching at this point. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's so behind. I think we're at 113 likes, so we can definitely get that up. But subscribe to the channel as well. So let's keep going here, Frankie. Beautiful TA, beautiful analysis there on Bitcoin.
Thank you.
I'm gonna kind of open it up for you. We could go Ethereum, we could go Cardano, we could go some of the bigger names, but what are some charts that you are really excited about right now that you've gotten your entire community really riled up about and excited about? What are things that you're seeing that you think could be really special?
Yes. So let me go ahead and share that screen one more time. So for me, just as a just so some people can know that may not already know, now I have been DCAing into the market. Typically my strategy to DCA in, and this is going to leak into kind of the charts that I'm looking at. I started DCAing in. My strategy basically is or was to start DCAing in once we got a bit into the red with our got our money flow to come into the red on the weekly, right? Because if you kind of back test that, every time we've come down to either the 200-week moving average, which is this green line right here, and you could see even down here, we came to that 200-week moving average, which was essentially the bottom of this bear market. It was definitely the bottom of the 2018 bear market. And as we and then on top of that, not only did we come to that down to that 200-week, but as we approach that 200-week, you could see that we are in the red with the money flow on the weekly. So that was kind of my strategy to start DCAing in. We smashed right through the 200-week moving average, bearishly retested it, and dumped down. But I basically started my DCAs as we broke that 200-week moving average. Once we were below there, I'm like, you know what? Historically, we've been near the bottom, or we've basically bottomed out on the 200-week every single cycle, at least the ones that we have enough information for the moving average. So I started my DCA here, DCA, 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 and then I cut my DCA once we got this breakout here. But the one thing, the reason I bring this up is because anyone who watches me will know my DCA was very heavy on, the big boys, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum. I actually added one altcoin to that, and that was Solana. I won't go into it, but there was a very specific reason I was buying it. DCA'd in almost at the exact worst time possible. No. I got absolutely wrecked on that bag, but that's the beauty of DCAing. Just to point that out, I am not very alt heavy right now. So, it was mostly Bitcoin and ETH that I DCA'd in over here. But with that being said, I'm hoping, the altcoins come back down. But you know what? Sometimes you miss the best opportunity. But we'll have to see what happens. We got a lot going on in the world. We'll have to see if we could come back down to at least get close to these lows. However, some altcoin charts that I would be looking at, one that actually does, a lot of these altcoins have gotten, some altcoins have gotten like really good action, right? For example, like Matic. If we take a look at Matic, Matic is within, I think, 45% of its all-time high, which is absolutely bonkers. Wow. If we pull that from wick to wick, we are only 46% from our all-time high on Matic. So, not one I'm necessarily, I mean, this is exciting. Not that I would buy this right now, just because we are up. But, this is exciting just to see an altcoin get that close to its all-time high, technically in a bear market. I know it's kind of a subjective opinion there, but, we have a lot of coins that have gotten really, really big moves, but the ones that are getting me excited are the ones that really haven't popped yet. DOT, right? DOT is one of those coins that is still hovering down at these lows, still coming in, from wick to wick. Still down 85%, right? So these are the charts that I am excited about, or these are the charts that I am watching. But DOT is one in specific that really hasn't gotten a run, and I think DOT is really undervalued just in general. So this is definitely one that I would be keeping an eye on. Just any of these coins that really haven't gotten a pump yet, but DOT is one of those coins that really, really, stands out to me. It's been around. It's, stood the test of time. It's a good project. I don't think it's going anywhere, and it is still at an 85% discount as opposed to things like Matic that are like basically, in terms of a bear market, essentially approaching its all-time high. Right. So, I would say DOT is probably one of the charts that really, excites me. This thing looks like, this has gotten so much pain, and it's just starting to come back to life here. So, and we just broke these highs here, so we could start to see this thing run up to potentially about, $9.38. You can see we have a high volume node there. We start cracking those highs. That's where you get into the Matic territory, where you could come up towards that, $17.50 level. And then, you're kind of getting closer to that, 60% to your all-time high, getting kind of in that Matic level.
Interesting. I have a couple questions there about those two coins, because those are both Matic and DOT are ones that I have been looking at, and I have very complex thoughts about it. Let's start with Matic. I think you're right there, how close it is to its all-time high. But could we see Matic have the same type of explosive run that Cardano had in 2021, where how many times do we think Cardano was overextended, or it was kind of leading the rally? Like, I think if I remember this correctly, Cardano was had the largest rally in all of 2021 of all the major altcoins. Could we see Matic take a similar approach? And like what I'm looking at right now, daily chart, you could go to the downside, but when you go to the 4-hourly chart and down on Matic, it's actually starting to kind of flash sold at the moment, meaning oversold. So we could see it potentially start to climb back up. And I'll stop there. I'll go to DOT here in a second. What are your thoughts about Matic? Could we see an explosive 2021 Cardano-like rally for Matic this year?
So my gut really says, and it's not saying that it can't happen, but like, my gut is like bear market. Like, why would an altcoin go crazy in a bear market? But there are exceptions, right? We've had altcoins kind of go crazy in a bear market, and right now, obviously, we are getting bullish action. A lot of the altcoins are going crazy right now. So I'm not like a delusional bear that's like, Matic's 45% from its all-time high, right? So we're definitely getting bullish action, and it's not impossible to get these big moves in bear markets, and especially if the bottom is in for Bitcoin, which I do think there is a good chance of. You don't want to be the last bear screaming. So Matic, I know they have a lot of really good partnerships. I always tell people, I'm a very technical trader. I'm not the biggest tech guy, but I know they have a lot of really good partnerships. I know the project is really good. So I think if there are, Matic is one of the stronger altcoins that I am looking at, and I don't think that there is I don't know if we'll see it hit new all-time highs But again, if you asked me, 3-4 months ago, if it would be within 45% of its all-time high today, I would have told you were crazy. So, definitely not impossible, especially because it's absolutely ripping. And again, we've seen altcoins go crazy in bear markets before. There are always those exceptions. And, if something has a good use case, if it's got good partnerships, got a good team, people will invest in that. So I think we definitely could see more upside. And you're 100% right. Looking at that 4 hours, completely slammed on the 4 hour, looking like it wants to make another move up. So we might find out very soon. But one thing I am looking at on a lot of the altcoins is the weekly is getting very overheated on a lot of the altcoins and even Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually trailing a little bit behind, but we're getting red dots on the weekly for a lot of the altcoins. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a pullback here. And I know, a lot of people don't like to hear that, especially in this bullish action. And again, sometimes I feel like the crazy guy. Everyone's going 25K, and we're looking at, talking about breaking that 25K level. And we're watching that too. Again, we have a huge low volume gap on Bitcoin, right at that 25K level, or 25.2 is the level we've been watching. I know you mentioned that level before, so we're not completely blind to the fact that if we crack 25.2, we could see a mega a big teleportation up to 30K, 28K. But on a technical level, the indicators are pointing for at least some form of a correction, whether that's going to give us a big move down, maybe we get a black swan and things get ugly, or if we just get a little small cool off before getting that leg up to 30K. So I will say the indicators have been pointing down, but I do feel like the crazy bear on YouTube, to be honest with you. So I hope it plays out.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that we tell people all the time, we can sit here and project, we can look at the news, we can look at the TA. There's no approach that's going to get you 100% results, exactly what you think is going to happen. So the best way is just to continue to prepare for anything. I think that's really cool. I loved your answer about Matic too. Very, very good conservative answer of like, hey, it could, but you can't plan on what you can't plan on. And that's the truth, is that I know a lot of influencers take heat when they try to help speculate on things. But here's what we do know, is there's always that one project that just does the exact opposite of what everyone thinks it's going to do. It makes rallies for no apparent reason. It just explodes. Maybe Matic's that, maybe it's not. As far as DOT, with what you're looking at there, have you seen any development? I know one of the things that kind of hindered DOT more recently, and this wouldn't come up on the charts, and maybe you don't have an answer to this one, in which case that's okay. But I know the development started to slow down. Like DOT in 2022 was one of the highest and most developed altcoins out there. But about the time, what was his name? The CEO, Woods? Not Woods. What's his name?
Yeah. Gavin Woods?
Gavin Woods. Okay, I was right. Well, when you try to talk yourself out of something sometimes.
You're always right.
When Gavin Woods stepped away, I noticed there was a chart we looked at here about a month ago, and I'd have to do some digging to pull it back up. But it showed that the same time that Gavin Woods stepped away, the development on DOT really started to plummet. Is that something you've looked into? Does that concern you at all? Or you're just looking and you're saying, man, we are so overextended to the downside. We're still so oversold on DOT, and it's still a solid project. It's due for its come up sooner than later.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, listen, that is one of the most important things that I think people should look at. I don't think a lot of people really pay attention to that, at least a lot of new people. Developer activity is extremely, extremely important in any project, right? So, if you have developer activity slowing down, that's definitely, more of a bad sign. But again, kind of really what I'm looking at are the charts. I'm a very technical trader, so if the chart looks good, I'm going to trade it. But yeah, it's really the chart that is making me feel bullish. I know it's a solid project. Like you said, I think it's going to have its day, even if, things have slowed down a little bit. I think they will get back to a level where they can see a lot of growth. And again, at this point, the reason why I'd be very comfortable kind of, going in on DOT is because I don't want anyone to take that as like a buy signal for DOT right now. I would actually want to wait for the weekly to cool off to get a dip. But the the chart is, so, like you said, so oversold, and the risk to reward is very, very good, right? We're so slammed to the downside right now on DOT. You know, even if it took a dump, even if you bought in right now and it took a dump, like how much lower is it really going to go unless the project dies? So I do think it has enough steam to get going again, even if it has slowed down. That if I was buying down at these lows, even if it dumped, I just think the reward, the potential reward, is much higher than the risk.
Well, I think that's a good point you have right there. And I'm going to kind of transition to something you said earlier. And I know you said you DCA'd into it at the exact wrong time, but you want to bring up the term risk to reward. Solana's got to be up there in one of the best risk to reward ratios out there. It's so low. It's crashed so down. Is Solana one that you're looking at? I know you DCA'd in maybe at the time you didn't want to, but are you still holding on to hope there for Solana? Here on our channel, we aren't the biggest Solana supporters for a couple different reasons, but I'm not going to deny the fact that they didn't go away. They didn't die. They've regrouped, and it looks like they're trying to rebuild. What are your thoughts about Solana at this point?
Yeah, man, that's a great question too. And yeah, I wish I had my KuCoin open. I wish I could say the number that I have crushed down on Solana right now. So it did break my heart a little bit. But you make a really good point, Tim. I mean, this thing is, I mean, hang on. Let me pull up the chart real quick, because you make a really good point. I mean, this thing is destroyed right now. So, when you talk about risk to reward, I mean, we did get a nice little pop up. I mean, this structure wise, this looks bullish to me. But, when we got crushed down, Solana hit $8. Like at that point, right? And again, I know a lot of people don't support Solana, and I totally understand. I'm very open about this on my channel. I get why people don't like Solana. I get why people don't like XRP. I get why people don't like a lot of coins. But for me, I am here in crypto for the decentralized aspect of it. I'm totally on board with all of that. However, I try to be really honest with myself. I am also here to make money. I'm a trader. So, if I think there is upside potential on the chart, I'm going to invest. I'm not really going to let my morals get in the way of that. And I know some people will probably hate on that, but that's okay. But, as far as Solana, risk to reward wise, we have to understand that Solana was one day at $260. So, if you were buying like any asset that was at $260, and like you said, it's not like they disappeared and the whole project fell apart and it's dead, right? They're trying to rebuild. They're trying to keep this thing alive. And I think with a lot of the the VC money that goes into this kind of stuff, I think if they want to pump it, if this thing wants to go up, they're going to make it go up, right? So I would say the risk to reward on Solana, again, right now, just, locally, I wouldn't be buying all these green candles. I would rather wait for a bigger retrace. But just in general, I mean, this thing is absolutely hammered to the downside. And the fact that they are trying to rebuild, I think there is a chance that it could come back, right? And again, if there's any coin that can get manipulated to the upside, I think Solana is one of those coins that can just, even if the fundamentals don't call for it or anything like that, I think if they're going to push it up, they're going to push it up. So risk to reward wise, I think you're 100% right. I mean, it's totally crushed.
Well, I think you mentioned some good stuff right there. Here's what I do know. I was hearing this the other day that Solana, they are raising new funds. They're starting to get investors in. And so if they can, again, if there's a lot of ifs in Solana, but if they can continue to get away from FTX and they can kind of pull out and get away from that relationship and being known for being so closely tied to FTX. Again, are they going to be the world beaters like they once were? I don't think so. Are they going to be ever termed or called the Ethereum potential killer again? Probably not. But that concept of, hey, if you're here to make money, sometimes you got to put your feelings away and just follow the money. Solana might not be the worst in the world on that one. Might break more hearts. Might make some more gains that are astronomical. But hey, we're going to transition, Frankie. We're going to transition to some stories, and you are more than welcome to stay with us and break them down with us. But I know you're also you're a very busy man, so if you need to go at any time, let us know. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on here. We got to have you on again really soon. If you guys, for some reason, I would assume the majority of the people here follow you already. But in case there's that one person out there who does not subscribe to Frankie Candles, who doesn't know who he is, Go to our description. There's a link for both his Twitter and his YouTube channel. You do not want to miss out. Again, one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing influencer right now in the space. And to top it all off, this is what I love about Frankie the absolute most. It's really rare to find a guy who's as charismatic and as helpful and is not, I don't know what the proper way to say this, but not a jerk. Like, Frankie's one of the nicest people you will ever meet. And he's just phenomenal at what he does when it comes to his YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go and subscribe. Shout out to the Candle Mafia as well. You guys have shown up big time and representing. But yeah, Frankie, let us know. If you want to stay.
That, Tim. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome.
I can hang out until probably like around 10 o'clock. I'll have to hop off because I got to get ready for
that's when we're leaving.
But yeah, I can hang out till like 10. Perfect. Sweet. Beautiful. I'll stick around.
Well, I'm going to throw it to T-Shroom to cover our stories. Make sure you guys go ahead. We still got 260 people watching. Only 169 likes, so smash that like button. And again, if you're not subscribed to the Investing Bros already, smash that subscribe button as well. T-Shroom, why don't you take it away with some of our stories?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I actually want to start with a market open here. We'll do this very briefly, but energy is making a little bit of a comeback, at least natural gas is. Okay. As you can see here, natural gas making a little bit of a comeback, not too much, and then oil down 0.5 here in the early minutes. 9:45 of the New York session. Your indexes are green. This is a surprise, guys. The Dow Jones gave back a bunch of gains yesterday that it had earned over the course of months. So as you can see here, a pretty big sell-off for the Dow Jones, and it looks like getting a green candlestick on the day today to try to make a little bit of a comeback off that pretty big red candle for the Dow. Moving away from the indexes and into crypto, you're seeing red across the screen. XRP clinging to that green status, but it is the exception to the rule there for crypto. Let's see, got green on your gold and silver this morning, but just barely. Silver leading the way up for the precious metals, up 0.3%. And then your mega cap tech stocks, green across the screen. So, helping out the NASDAQ there quite a bit. And then Amazon leading that movement back upward and Apple cannot remain green here at 9:45 again. Bonds getting bought a little bit this morning, and their yields coming down a little bit as a result. Cannabis green across the screen there. Tilray leading the way up 2.5%. Mid caps green across the screen, and Coinbase doing really, really well up today, up almost 8%. So getting some nice consolidation here. Might be a flag forming there for Coinbase. And then your oil producers are red except for Schollenberger. Getting into the crypto news here, guys. The big one is this. Beijing using Hong Kong as crypto testing ground, says a report. Bloomberg broke this story this morning, but we're reading it from blockworks.co. Beijing is subtly supporting Hong Kong's ambitions to become a digital asset hub as officials keep tabs on developments in the special administrative region. That's, of course, referring to Hong Kong. Over the past few months, representatives from China's liaison office and others have regularly attended crypto meetups in the city in the past few months. Again, Bloomberg reporting that this morning. Hong Kong appears to be reviving the industry by looking at lifting a ban on retail crypto trading, although in a regulated manner. Of course, that would be expected. A consultation paper released Monday shows crypto trading platforms operating in the city must be approved by the Securities and Futures Commission by June 2024 or risk closing down operations. So a decent runway there for the platforms that are looking to operate for the retail crypto trading space. Meanwhile, trading and mining crypto in mainland China was banned in September 2021 as the government considers related activity as a threat to financial stability as well as environmental goals. Nick Chan, a member of China's national legislature and cybersecurity lawyer, reportedly said Hong Kong is free to explore its own pursuits under the one country, two systems policy, just as long as it doesn't threaten financial stability in China. Despite China's crackdown, local crypto trading has picked up towards the last few months of 2022 as traders found loopholes in restrictions. So the kind of getting into some very interesting details, even a little bit of shedding some light on the way that China sees Hong Kong with the one country, two systems there. So, Tim, I want to get your take first on this story.
Well, I mean, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I gave my take there. I'm interested to hear Frankie's take on this, what his thoughts are, especially when we're looking at just kind of breaking the story apart. This is not the mainland of China readopting crypto. They're not reversing their ban on mining or letting their retail investors invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but they are going to kind of experiment here by allowing Hong Kong to do so. Frankie, what are your thoughts? I don't know if you'd heard this story before or if this is the first time you're hearing it. What are your initial thoughts when you hear this news? Is this bullish? Is this a nothing burger? Or is there something that's maybe hidden that you could kind of extrapolate and say, I'm a little concerned actually about this story?
Yeah, for sure. I will say, I want to say, probably more of a nothing burger, but I might be a little bit biased because I've just seen, it's just like China. I'm surprised this article is not saying China bans crypto. It's like there's always an article saying China bans crypto, and it's like, didn't China ban crypto like 17 times? So it's like it just always seems like every time an article is put out that is talking about China either banning crypto or unbanning crypto, it's just always like they're always saying something about China. It always seems like they release these articles with some kind of agenda or intent that it makes me kind of not really put a lot of weight just in the article in general. But I do think it's interesting that China's not lifting any bans. Like you said, they're not lifting those the mining bans or anything like that. But hey, Hong Kong, like allow the retail crypto trading. I would say, if anything, I guess it would be, somewhat bullish. But again, even if it was like, hey, Hong Kong's having a great time, unbanning the retail trading of crypto. Hey, China's going to unban crypto. I would just expect them to ban it a week later just because, it's like a meme at this point, China bans crypto. So, yeah, I would say, if anything, somewhat of a bullish sign, the fact that they're even, letting Hong Kong experiment with it. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if in a week, China shuts down, retail crypto trading or whatever it is. So, yeah, I would say, somewhat bullish, but kind of really not putting much weight on it, to be 100% honest.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what this means. We got about 7 million people in Hong Kong. Of course, not all 7 million of those are going to end up using this, but they're going to have the freedom to do so. I don't know what kind of wealth and what kind of volume that will bring into the space. I mean, it is more people. It may be using a gateway. We discussed this a little bit yesterday, Frankie, as well. The concept of, what was his name, T-Shroom, that he wrote the book that he was talking with the government? We talked about yesterday.
Jason Lowery.
Jason Lowery. Okay, so Jason Lowery is a student. He was at MIT, just graduated from MIT as a PhD or something. I don't know what it was, but he's been advising the U.S. government on how Bitcoin could be utilized as a weapon, and it's a very intriguing case there. And that's what we kind of talked about a little bit yesterday, Frankie. Is could we see Bitcoin maybe not actually used that way, but do we see some of these world leaders actually start to utilize Bitcoin in its chance to become a weapon? And I kind of talked about how nuclear warfare, the whole goal of that, hopefully we never see a nuke actually used in war, but the fact that they're there and the fact that they exist kind of help regulate and keep things in check.
Mutually assured destruction.
Could Bitcoin be the same way, that it's never utilized necessarily as some form of a weapon, but if there's any part of it that could be utilized by a foreign leader, it's almost like an incentive, like, hey, if United States is going to hold Bitcoin, China's got to hold Bitcoin, and Russia's got to hold Bitcoin, and India's got to hold Bitcoin, and UK's got to hold Bitcoin, and Germany's got to hold Bitcoin, because we don't want them to utilize this against us the same way there's that kind of that spreading of nuclear warfare. What are your thoughts about that potential?
Yeah, 100%. I think this is why, I talk about this a lot. I think this is why it's so important for America to kind of like wake up and like, guys, let's get this thing regulated, because if we do not want to be the last people to and I do think this is in the works, obviously, and maybe we see the regulation come soon. Maybe we do get that run up to that macro golden pocket at about 48K, and then we get regulation news, get an absolute nuke to the downside, and that's where we see an initial dump, and then that's where we could start the regulatory bull run. I would call it the regulatory bull run, which may be the real crypto bull run, where now you can actually have regulated organizations that have that are actually managing other people's assets enter into the market and get more of our country and again the actual country's money into Bitcoin, because if we let other countries adopt Bitcoin and they're buying it and their governments have it, if we want to get in the game. We don't want to be the last people to the party. So, I do think it's really, really important because I think it could wind up being used to kind of, used as a power play, right, between countries, you know. So especially the more and more it becomes utilized in you know, day to day, you know, the more crypto becomes mass adopted, whether it's regulated in America or not, you know, the more popular it gets, the more mainstream it goes, the more important it is for America to really get on board and stop seeing it as this scary thing that needs to be, you know, banned.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, mining is the one to watch because part of Jason Lowery's thesis is that mining is the big thing. So, like, from a national security standpoint, you know, we have the Federal Reserve in theory to maintain stability. Doesn't do a great job of that all the time, but so if you copy and paste that same mentality over to the blockchain, America and other states would be incentivized to mine at a very large industrial scale. Because it will bring national security to the stability of this new Web3 monetary system. So that's kind of what Jason Lowery's theory is. And then you play that out like 5-10 years, there would eventually be a state that would try to deviate from ensuring stability and would try to, you know, think like an Iran or a North Korea and would try to destabilize. And that's when it would become a little bit more of a weaponized system. And of course, the countries with the biggest mining capacity under state control would come out on top, you know, in theory, but also under private control. So there's a lot of theories going on about how Bitcoin and proof of work blockchains could be weaponized in the future. And it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing because it would be kind of the first note of what's to come with the future of computing and the future of just data weaponization and data transfer and just data evolution over time anyway. So that is definitely something to watch. I said it yesterday on our show with this story specifically. Here's how I see it playing out. I don't think China was able to influence the internet infrastructure in Hong Kong like they were with their great firewall in mainland China. So for those who don't know, mainland China's internet infrastructure is containable, and they're able to censor the majority of the population there from seeing Western media and hearing Western lies, right? So that's been a very, very effective, and they don't plan on changing that. I think it's different in Hong Kong, and you're starting to see the reason why they may be kind of loosening their grip from a crypto standpoint is because they just can't get any kind of control. It's the same reason why there weren't any politicians really calling for an all-out ban on Bitcoin here in the US or in the EU or in Canada, because they just can't. Our infrastructure wasn't built. Our internet infrastructure wasn't built for containability. It was built for efficiency and distribution. So that's great. That's really good. And so what I'm thinking is more than likely Hong Kongers are going to have access, probably have had access through VPNs all this time. But now what it'll be is a little bit of a cooling, which will signal to some mainlanders in China, hey, this crypto thing, maybe it's not so bad. We don't have to believe the propaganda that Bitcoin is evil, right? And that belief will be reinforced as it transfers from Hong Kongers into the mainlanders, as of course they're going to communicate at some point, whether that be online or in person through trade or through culture. So that's something to watch. And then Tim, I wanted to get your take, and we got a couple more minutes here. We could talk a little bit about the Fed minutes are going to be coming at 2:00.
Yeah. The last thing I was going to say is how crazy is it that here back 2 years ago, 2021, one of the big concerns was that more than 60% of Bitcoin mining was being done in China, and then China banned it, sending it away. Bad move on Chinese government. Like let's see, it does become a power thing. Watch them be like, oh, we had it in our backyard and then we lost it. But yeah, let's move on. The Fed minutes I do think are important, so let's cover that and then we'll kind of close out the show.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing really to see. So there's not like a forecast. There's nothing really to see. I'm sure there's some tweets out there that we could have prepped that kind of get into like what to expect. But the big thing is here is like, are the Fed governors like worried? You know, that's what we're going to be looking at. Are they using this deflationary term more? That's kind of the disinflation, excuse me. Are they using that term more? That's been kind of the buzzword in the Fed conversation that Jerome's been using that word. Or are they starting to use other words like higher for longer? You know, what is the phraseology that's used in the minutes? And then the big thing to watch is how the banks respond, because ultimately the banks, and by banks I mean like Bank of America, JP Morgan, and even European banks like Deutsche Bank as well. But like, how do their commentators, how do their analysts set the tone for what the minutes mean? And that's going to probably affect trading for the rest of the day. But guys, I don't expect what happens at 2 p.m. to be like, you know, a huge development. I think it's going to be interpreted. There'll be a little bit of volatility in the minutes afterwards. But unless there is something very clear that the market has not baked in, like they're moving their target rate for inflation down. That's been Jerome has shot that down many times, saying that's never going to happen. But something like that, something on the order that nobody was anticipating, that was discussed in the minutes. I don't think anything is really going to come of it, except for the volatility again in the first couple of minutes of that dropping, just because of the robo traders. But Frankie, we'll get your take on that. What are you expecting anything from the minutes? And do you have any thoughts on the Fed just in 2023? Have they done a good job, bad job? Is it bullish? Are we expecting a bot? Have we already seen the bottom as a result? Are we going to expect a pivot in 23?
Yeah, so I would say, listen, I mean, with this stuff with the minutes, like you said, some short-term volatility is typically what we see. Nothing really at the extreme of like when we actually have the FOMC meetings. Typically, that's where you see like the washer machine, giant wick to the upside, giant wick to the downside, wreck the bulls, wreck the bears, and then pick a direction. And honestly, a lot of the times it'll wreck the bears, wreck the bulls, and then just go back to where it was and just go sideways, which is super, super frustrating. I typically, I talk about this a lot. I typically don't try to trade. I typically don't try to trade this news unless I'm going in with super, just to go trade it for fun, to get in on the volatility. It's fun. You can get some good moves. But to be honest, it's so risky. I usually just sit it out, let the dust settle, and then I will wait for price to either find balance again or pick a direction and then make a decision based off of, after the dust actually settles. But yeah, man, listen, as far as like the bottom being in, I will say this, like I said, I'm a really, really technical person. And, one of the big things that I was just personally looking at, saying, if we can see the bottom of this market come in, I don't see a better way to do it than with a bullish divergence on the weekly. And when we started forming this bullish divergence on the weekly for Bitcoin specifically, this was something that we were looking at. I had brought it up, and I didn't know if we were going to get it, and we finally got it. And it really makes me think, the bottom could be in. And again, you want to remember a lot of this stuff, the interest rate hikes, all this stuff is a lot of times baked into the market beforehand. And I think that's why a lot of times during this news, we get that washer machine, that up, that down. And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, it will just snap back to where it was, or at least near where it was, and just kind of continue in that area, to continue to range around in that area. And I think that is because a lot of times it's already baked into the market, right? And like you said, you have the bots trading and stuff. So I think that is a lot of what causes the volatility. But at the end of the day, when the dust settles, it's kind of like, we kind of already know what's going on. So yeah, I wouldn't expect too much. Like you said, short-term volatility to be expected. Maybe a little bit of fear going into it, which does look like that's what we're starting to see right now. I think, Bitcoin just cracked 24K. We're sitting at about 23,950 right now. So yeah, a little bit of fear going into the meeting, which is, not unlikely either. But other than that, I really don't think it's going to cause anything too drastic. And if it does, for some reason, we get something that is not expected, they bring up something that, no one was really thinking of, and we do get a move to the downside again. I was already just feeling bearish based on the technical signals. So, I don't know. To me, it's like, I'm a show me the charts, I'll show you the news kind of guy. So
100%. Thank you.
Well, that's all we have time for today. I know Frankie's got to run. Again, if you guys have not already subscribed to his channel, go subscribe. Also, so is it 5:30 p.m., Frankie, that you have a show every single night?
Yeah, every single weekday at 5:45.
5:45. So it's the perfect thing. You get to wake up every single morning and watch the Investing Bros. Then, as you're kind of tuning off for the day, and you're like, all right, let's kind of tune down before I go to bed. You get to watch Frankie Candles. Two great channels. You guys should definitely be subscribed to both of them. Frankie, we'll have you on again very soon. And anytime you want me, I'm down to come on and be on the night show as well. But
absolutely,
we'll talk to you later, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Thanks, man.
Take it easy.
Well, guys, that's all we have for you in today's show. This Super Guest Wednesday with Frankie Candles. Again, largest live viewing we have ever had. So shout out to the Candle Mafia. Shout out to all the Investing Bros fans. You guys are fantastic. You guys are the reason why this space is so encouraging moving forward. Crypto is not going anywhere. The Investing Bros are not going anywhere. Frankie's not going anywhere. I cannot wait to see what happens over the next couple of years. With that said, though, you guys have a fantastic day. And in light and in honor of Frankie Candles, bing bong.